Hello, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Ifoma. If you're a new subscriber, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back. Please do like our channel, make sure to subscribe and hit on your notification bell to get notified each time we upload a video. Today we're going to be learning how I make this lovely jumpsuits. Yes, we're learning how to make this lovely jumpsuit. But before we go to the tutorial, I have some corrections to make. If you see, the crotch of this jumpsuit is quite long and it was deliberate. So please, because I want you to have an open mind when you're watching the video, it is how I want the length and how free I want it. So, but if you want the normal regular jumpsuit, which here will be up like a little bit, what you do is you're going to divide your waist by 3, your hip measurement by 3, whatever you get. In my case, I think it was 14.5, but what I used is above 14.5. So that's what I'm trying to explain. So if you divide your hip by 3, whatever you get, add 1.5, half inch for sewing, then 1 inch for ease towards the crotch. That's to make it a bit comfortable. But if you want it very huggy, please just use the normal answer you got from your calculation. That being said, another correction I want to make is this chest line. When I did this, I found out that here is a bit loose, a bit free. So, and I would love to correct that before you get to the tutorial. When you're doing yours, you just measure your shoulder, divide your shoulder by 2, the midpoint, connect it to your nipple apex, then you contour. That is minus 0.5 or 0.6 or 0.7. But to be on the safe side, you do 0.5. Then you seal it before cutting. However, if you just want to go straight to it, it's fine. Just that, when you hold here too much, it's going to press your chest, and we don't want that. I've done this crisscross neck more than 2. This is the 3rd time I've done it, but I did it with a bustier cut. So this is the first time I'm trying it plain like this, and I didn't contour, so I had that result. So I just want to correct it. That being said, let's go to the tutorial. Thank you. Stay tuned. This pattern into a crisscross neck. So I've gone ahead to draw from my neck depth with 0.5 my neck width here. So I'm going to trace down. You need a good blending ruler for this, like the long one of this, but it's broken. So you use a broken line first before you do that. Then here at the center front here, this is the center front. You determine where you want your depth neck to start from, the cross to start from. So I want mine 2-inch, 1.5, sorry, away from my nipple point. So it's going to start from here. I'm going to connect it like so to the tip. So this is it. All we need to do now is to connect this straight down. Blend off. So we're going to cut out. So what we'll do now is to close this. So here we have it. This is what we have. If you can now blend off. So for the back, all you do is place the front to the back and take note of a deep back inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb in. I'm going to comb in by 1.5. That makes sense. I want the back to go in, so now we blend out to see they are equal. So I'm going to open this start because Now let's cut out the trouser part. You see where my tape is placed. I went down by 6. This first line is 6 inch. Where that line is starting from now is my actual crotch measurement, which is my hip divided by 4, which is 10.5. That's my actual crotch measurement. Like I said before this video started, I explained that I wanted it free. That is the style I want. So now I've input my hip measurement, my hip line. I'm connecting a straight line for the hip line. I used 8.5 for the hip. So I'm so sorry that the chalk was not coming out the way it should. So now I went in by 4. How did I get that? My crotch measurement, which is your hip divided by 20, it's supposed to give me 2.5 plus my seam allowance. So I just went in by 4 and I connected a straight line. So by the time I'm done imputing my crotch extension, I will have enough space for the allowance that I need. So that is what this 4 that I went in for is. So I'm connecting with a straight line to the crotch line. So now I'm imputing my crotch extension, which is, like I said for you to get your crotch extension, you divide your hip by 20 for the front. For the back, you divide by 10. I have a tutorial about that on how to draft your pant trouser. So you just check it out. You will get a full detailed tutorial on it. So I just connected. Then now I'm imputing my hip measurement, which is 10.5, and my sewing allowance, 1 inch sewing allowance. This trouser pattern is actually a full trouser. So I'm imputing my waist measurement now, which is 8.5. Please make sure to use your measurement. Use your accurate measurement for it, which is 8.5. Then I added my sewing allowance. I usually don't put that in front of my front panel clothes. I barely do that. Maybe for a skirt or a trouser, I always put my dart at the back. I don't put in front. I don't basically do that. So you can, if you want your dart, when you input your waist measurement, you're going to you put your dart allowance, then you connect. I'm connecting the waist to the hip line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide from this is from the hip line, that's the crotch extension, to where my hip measurement, I connected my hip measurement to the crotch extension, to the crotch measurement. So from the crotch extension to where that hip measurement stopped, I am going to divide it by 2. Whatever I get from there, I'm going to spread it across to the length. The length of my trouser is 46. My actual length is 44. Then 2 inch for folding. That is the 46. So I'm connecting like a straight line. So this will give me a guide, give me a guide, and it will make my trouser straight. So now I'm going to distribute it to the trouser length. It's same measurement I got. I think it's the same measurement I got. That is the same measurement I'm going to use for my
length. That's the trouser, round trouser length, because it's a straight cut. There are different trouser cuts. So this is a straight cut. So I'm going to connect it straight to the hip line, then straight to the crotch line. Then that is it. So impute my sewing allowance. Now I'm connecting straight to the crotch measurement. I hope it makes sense. Please, if you have questions, please ask, and I'll be in the comment section to answer you. Just feel free to ask your questions. So you just connect, and this is it. It's very easy to make. So I'm going to cut out for the front panel. This is the front panel. Now I'm adding my sewing allowance. On this side, I added 0.5. If you can't sew perfectly with 0.5, please, you can extend it to 0.7 just to be on the safe side. But I added 0.5 on this side. You already know that I've already added my sewing allowance on the hip line and the waistline, and I've actually added, I've added the sewing allowance before, but you're not seeing it because it's not that clear. So on the hip line, on the side of the hip line is 1 inch sewing allowance. Then on the side of the crotch line is 0.5 sewing allowance that I added. Now I'm going to cut that. And also for the crotch line, there is a 0.5 sewing allowance. The chalk did not do any justice to this, and my table was small, so I had to place it on. So the camera was a bit far from from the fabric, so it couldn't capture very well. So I'm so sorry about it. Like I said before, I have a tutorial on how to draft your pant trouser. So even from that tutorial, the only thing you just need to do is to extend, just like you're making a high waist pant. You know, if you're making a high waist pant, you add like 2 inch extension from your you add 2 inch extension from your normal crotch measurement. So that's the waistline. So if you add 2 inch, it's going to sit on your high waist. So now let's go to the back. For the back, I've placed the front panel to the back panel. So I'm just going to extend the lines. The alteration in the back is just from the crotch measurement upward. So I'm just going to extend all my basic lines that I had there before. That is the waistline. This I told you, I before my crotch measurement, I have 6 inch allowance, which is, like I said, to get a jumpsuit measurement, crotch measurement, you divide your waist by you divide your hip measurement by 3. Whatever you get, that will be your crotch. Then you just add 1 inch or 1.5 for ease, depending on how free you want it, like within your crotch line. If you want it a little bit free, you could add. What that 1 inch does for you. But if you don't want it, you could just skip and just put your normal sewing allowance. So I've actually added all the necessary lines from the front panel. I pinned down, so that's why I flipped the front panel away from it, so I could get chance to do all the alterations that I need. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put back the front panel and trace back my actual crotch line for the front panel. I will trace it, then I'll connect it down to the crotch panel. So let's just do that. And connect. So I'll use the ruler to connect it back. It's just a guideline. I don't need it, but it's a guideline. So let's proceed. It's a guideline. So now what I'm going to do, from, you see this line now, that is my actual crotch length. So I went in by 2 points. In the upper part, I went in by 2.2 inch. Then in the crotch line, on the crotch line, I went in by 0.7. Sorry, not 0.7. I went in by, yeah, 0.7. I'm right. 0.7. Then I connected to the 2 inch I went in on the waistline. Let me actually say is a waistline. Yes, the waistline. So now I'm going to get a new waist measurement from the new waistline, from the new crotch line. So I imputed my that allowance there, 1 inch that allowance, the 1 inch allowance. Please, it's very important you take note of this 1 inch allowance. Then now from my hip line, I will take my hip measurement, which is 10.5, and I'm going to impute 1 inch for ease. So 10.5, I connected my hip measurement back to my crotch measurement there, and I imputed my 1 inch for ease on the hip line and connected back to the crotch line there. It has to be straight. So then I added my sewing allowance. So we had three markings there: the actual hip measurement, the 1 inch for ease, then 1 inch sewing allowance. And now I'm going to connect it to the waistline. The back trouser is always looking very funny when you're connecting, but it's perfect. You don't have to fright if you're doing it for the first time. Just follow the process. If you have to watch the clip again over and over again to get it, please kindly do so. Now I'm going to extend my crotch extension. To get your extension for the bag, you're going to divide your hip by 10. Whatever you get, you impute it from the crotch line. You know the new crotch line? Yes. So all you just need is just to connect, and you don't, all you need is for your curve ruler to just touch the hip line and connect. That's just all. So now I replace it so I can add my ease allowance. So I'm going to add 0.5 from the front line, that's the crotch line, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 to the end for the back panel, and the other side of it 0.5, 0.5 down to the end. So the only difference is that from the hip line, that's the side of the hip side, the upper part, you're going to you added new allowance because the waistline changed. You change your crotch line, but from the leg, that's from your crotch side downward, there was no alteration, so it's constant. The only thing you need to do is just add your 0.5. I explained, like I said before, I think I'm repeating it again. You just need to go and watch my tutorial on how to make a draft your basic pants trouser, so you will get what I'm explaining. And like I've said before, this is a straight cut trouser, so it means the crotch measurement, whatever you get for your crotch measurement, is the same thing you're going to apply on your, is straight to your trouser, round trouser leg. So that's just basically it. That's how simple it is. So now I'm going to add 0.5 to on this other side, then I'm going to connect. So connect your lines and cross check. if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, yeah, please do so. We'll learn and we'll have more to learn together. And yeah, so if you have a question, drop your question. And if the video is not clear, you can always rewatch, you know, to get a clear understanding of what we did. So I just basically connected it. I'm so sorry that this did not, the markings didn't come out. It was when I was done with the video that I saw that the markings didn't come out. And that was actually why I used the blue chalk, because I thought it would pop out better. So now I'm cutting. Mind you, there is 0.5 allowance on the crotch line for it. So please do impute your allowance. So just cut out and we're good to go. So I've cut out the side and I'm cutting out this other side, and this is it. So now I'm going to cut out my pocket. So now I'm going to go in by 2.5 from the waistline for the front. Then I went down by 6.5, because when I'm done sewing, I'm going to get approximately 7. So if you do 7, it will be too open, you know. So 6.5, 6.5 is standard. So I'm going to connect from that 6.5 back to the 2.5 from the waist side. The front panel, please, it's not the back panel, you know. I placed the front panel on the back panel to cut out the back panel. So I'm now cutting the pocket out. That is how to do your pocket dipping. There's another method which we'll learn maybe later on in this channel. So now I'm placing my pattern. You see my dart, like I said earlier, I said you can seal your dart, but I opened it because I wanted to do a pleat on it. So my dart is open. Now I'm cutting out the front panel. I did not cut out the back panel. The video of the back panel is not showing because there's nothing. It's just normal way you cut out your back panel. But if you're a beginner and you just came in across this video, I'm so sorry I didn't do that. So it's just place the pattern and just cut out. So I've added allowance, my same allowances, my normal allowance 2 inch on the side. The every other place was 0.5. And I imputed make sure to notch everywhere that needs notching. Make sure you notch, and please pin. I forgot to pin this, and my paper was just moving around, but yeah, so please do so. Don't make that mistake. Then you notch all your points, especially if you opened your dart. You have to notch, because when you're sealing it, so you know where to sew and where not to sew, or where the legs ends started from and where it ends. So that is it for the front panel. Or notching, and now this is the back, the pocket. This is how to stitch the front. You're gonna stitch here all through the neckline and top stitch. Then you stitch here, you stitch through here as well. Then you turn out. This is the pocket. You're going to sew it right side facing each other. Then you notch. When you are done, you notch. Then
turn it over, give it a good press. So let's do that and come back.
Press when I turn it over after I top stitch to press it, it's going to give me a firm, it's going to give it a firm grip, and the hemming gun will help it stay so it won't move. So I've gone ahead to do that, and I've given it a good press, and I've sewn inside. So now let me show you how to sew the other pocket, because I've sewn that one just to show you. So now when you're done stitching there, because the way I cut it out, immediately you stitch, when you close it up, you're going to just see where the fabric, because it was cut equally. So now I'm going to join them together and sew, and just freestyle it, and just make sure you follow like this. There was no particular, I didn't have any particular measurement for this. I gauged it, and I did it. So maybe I'll take out time to do a tutorial on how to sew a trouser pocket, different type of trouser pocket, you know. I will take out time to do a tutorial about that. So now I'm going to top stitch, take it to the machine and top stitch, then give it a good press. This is the one I did before. This is what we got, so you should get something like that. And I did not show that where I sewed my dart on this, because like I said, it's not necessary for you to put that. So because I have said that earlier, I skipped that part. So now I'm going to, we notched the inside where the 2 inch we went up in before we connected to the shoulder line. So that is where we're going to sew up to and stop. That's where the cross is starting from. So I've done that, and I've given it a good press. This is the shoulder. So I'm going to show you how to turn the shoulder, because I've done this just so you get idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to turn it inside and put the front into it, right side facing each other. The right side of the front is going to be facing the right side of the back inside. Then you just sew. It's normal. You just sew and turn it out. So with the allowance you added to your fabric when you were cutting. So we'll take it to the machine and just sew. I hope I'm not too fast. So we're done, and I've pressed it, and this is what we have for the now. I've gone ahead to do my back dart. I've sewn my back dart. For the back dart, I did 5 for the back. Then for the trouser back pants, the back side of the trouser, I did 7 inch for the dart. If you're doing is a full, like a high waist pants, usually you do 7 inch, 5, 7. 7 is standard for it. So now I'm going to notch that place. I notch is my sewing allowance for the back. Then for the front, because there's a zipper allowance, I don't know if it makes sense, but that's just, there's a notch there, you can't see it for the back. That's where my zipper allowance stopped. So we'll just take it to the machine, because the back has extra 1 inch for ease, if it makes sense. But just pin and sew, it's that simple. Just follow what you have in your measurement. It's going to align. So this is me placing them, and I'll go to the machine and sew. I sewed with 0.5. So yeah. So let's go to the machine, and what we'll do now is when you're done sewing, you're going to sew your zipper allowance down and sew your crotch for the back, down, for the back, down. Remember, we're having, there's a zip at the back. That's where my zip is for this particular one. So I've gone ahead to do that. So now I will pin the crotch line, the back and the front, and it has to be equal. You bring them equally, you pin, and I'm going to sew on 0.5. Remember, we added 0.5 allowance for the crotch line side, the length towards the crotch line down to the full length, it was 0.5. So now I've done that and I've given it a very good press. You have to give it a very good press. So now we're going to go to the side. The side is easy. Just for the upper part, take your normal bust measurement, your waist measurement, but from the waist down, what I added for the trouser is 1 inch. And one important thing is your front panel and the back panel has to be equal. You have to pin them equally, then take your, for tutorial purpose I'm taking it, but I already know it's 1 inch allowance I added, so I just sewed on 1 inch and that is it. So it's coming out fine.